right, everyone, get ready, because today we are diving headfirst into the world of Linux.
That's right.
But hold on, this isn't just some beginner's tour.
Nope.
We're talking Linux for cybersecurity, folks.
Absolutely.
Geared towards those who want to use this operating system like a pro.
Exactly.
And to help us out, we're cracking open Linux Basics for Hackers.
Great source.
What I really liked about it
Yeah.
is that it doesn't waste time.
Right.
It just throws you right into the action with practical commands.
Real world stuff.
You're not just memorizing some dry syntax.
Right.
You're learning how these commands are used
You
in
do.
the field by actual cybersecurity pros.
Yeah, and think about it this way.
Okay.
Linux, it's like the foundation for a huge chunk of the internet.
Wow. Yeah.
We're going to learn how to navigate it like pros.
I'm ready.
Let's dive into something as simple as moving or renaming files.
All right. Sounds basic enough.
Right. The MV command.
Okay. MV. Got it.
Seems basic, right?
Yeah. Just moving a file. So.
But imagine hacker using this to disguise a malicious file,
Oh, I see.
hiding it in plain sight within the system.
Sneaky.
Suddenly, MV takes on a whole new meaning, doesn't it?
But that's a great example. It's like they
Uh-oh.
always say. The quietest footsteps are the most dangerous. And this source doesn't shy away from the potential dangers of even seemingly simple commands.
Absolutely. And we've got a great example coming up.
Oh.
Remember the hacker challenge in the source?
I think so. Refresh my memory.
The scenario where we need to analyze the snort configuration file, a critical component of this intrusion detection system.
Right. Right.
We'll circle back to that a bit later.
Gotcha.
Keep it in mind as we explore these commands.
I will. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about the foundation, the file system.
It's like the blueprint of the Linux system.
Okay.
A structured hierarchy of directories and files.
Right.
And just like you wouldn't barge into a building without knowing the layout,
True.
understanding the file system is key to navigating and manipulating files effectively.
And this is where knowing the right commands is like having a master key. The source starts with ermdir for deleting directories.
Right.
But there's gotta be a catch.
Right. It's a bit more nuanced than just hitting delete. Armdir only works on empty directories.
Oh, so if you try to remove a directory full of files with just ermdir,
You'll be greeted with a polite but firm directory not empty message. Linux is very particular about these things.
so how do we get rid of a directory with files?
Well, that's where things get a little more powerful.
I like the sound of that.
Remember that RPR flag we've touched on?
Yeah.
Using RER on a directory is essentially like hitting the delete everything button.
Whoa.
It's efficient, but unforgiving.
Ooh, that sounds a little too close to accidentally deleted my entire thesis territory for comfort. Is there a safety word for this?
Not exactly. The source really drives home the importance of caution here. Accidentally unleashing REM/RE on your home directory is a rookie mistake you only want to make in a virtual machine, believe me.
Okay, noted. Virtual sandboxes, where it's okay to break things, intentionally, of course. But speaking of breaking things, how does this all tie back to cybersecurity? I mean, deleting directories seems a bit tame compared to, say, writing an encryption algorithm.
It all comes down to understanding the building blocks. These basic commands, when used in combination and with the right knowledge, become powerful tools in the hands of a cybersecurity professional.
Okay, I'm starting to see it now. It's not just about what these commands do, but also how they can be used and abused in a cybersecurity context.
Precisely. And as we move from file manipulation to text manipulation in the next section, you'll see how these commands can be chained together for even more complex tasks,
Like what?
like analyzing system logs, extracting data, and even modifying the behavior of applications.
All right, so we've talked about moving files, deleting them, hopefully not deleting anything too important.
Right.
We're really starting to get a handle on this Linux file system stuff.
Yeah.
But now it's time to get to the really interesting part.
Okay.
Text manipulation, that's where the real hacker skills come in, right?
Absolutely. And you know how the source said that in Linux, almost everything is treated as a file.
Yeah.
And most of those files are actually text-based.
Yeah. So what kind of text files are we talking about here?
System logs for one configuration files, those are important.
Right.
And even the scripts that hackers write, they're often all just plain text.
So it's like we're becoming digital detectives.
Exactly.
But instead of looking for fingerprints, we're searching through lines of code.
Looking for those digital clues.
And the source gives us the tools to do just that.
Odes.
Commands like grep, head, and tail.
Those are your go-tos.
It's like our digital magnifying glass.
Exactly. Say you want to take a quick look at a suspicious log file.
Okay.
Just use the head command to view the first few lines.
And if you need the most recent entries,
Tail is your friend.
And then there's grep,
Grep.
which, to be honest, has always seemed a bit intimidating.
I get it.
But the way the source explains it,
Yeah.
it's like this amazing search bar for your entire system.
It really is powerful, especially when you need to find something specific within a massive text file.
Give me an example.
Let's say you're investigating a potential security breach, right?
Okay.
And you've got gigabytes of log data to look through.
That's a lot of data.
Instead of scrolling through all of that manually, you can use grep.
Oh, I see.
Instantly find any lines that mention a specific username.
Or even a suspicious IP address.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense now.
You got it.
Yeah, it's about knowing the right tool for the job.
Right.
But things get really interesting when we start combining these commands, don't they?
Absolutely. And you know what a perfect example of that is?
What?
The hacker challenge from earlier. The one with the snort configuration file.
Okay, yeah.
The source wants us to use a bunch of commands together to find a specific section in that file.
Which commands?
grep, NL, which is for line numbering, and even head and tail.
To narrow things down.
Exactly.
So it's like we're taking these basic commands, like learning the alphabet, and now we can start putting them together to form words and sentences, whole paragraphs even.
And the more you practice, the more you can build.
And then we've got sed, which lets us actually edit the text files right there on the command line.
That's right, SED, which stands for Stream Editor.
Catchy.
It's like a find and replace tool for your terminal.
So like if I needed to replace a bunch of weak passwords in a configuration file,
That's a great use for it.
Ted could handle that, no problem.
Exactly.
I can see how a hacker could really abuse this command.
How so?
Changing log files, messing with timestamps.
You're right. It's a tool that can be used for good or for evil.
The source really emphasizes that this is what ethical hacking is all about, though.
Right. It's about responsibility.
It's like learning self-defense, you know?
I like that analogy. Go on.
You don't learn self-defense so you can go pick fights.
Right.
You learn it to protect yourself and others.
Exactly. It's the same idea with these commands.
So we've explored the file system, learned how to work with files, even how to search, view, and edit text files from the command line.
We've covered a lot of ground.
It's a lot, but it's exciting stuff.
Definitely.
But how does this all translate to a real cybersecurity scenario?
That's what we're going to uncover in the next part of our deep dive.
can't wait.
Stay tuned.
So we've got all these Linux commands under our belt,
A whole cybersecurity toolkit.
but now I want to see them in action.
Put them to the test.
Let's say I'm a cybersecurity analyst,
Okay, I like it.
and my system just sent me an alert something's fishy on one of my servers.
Uh-oh. Time to investigate.
Where do I even begin?
First things first, you got to check those system logs.
Of course, the logs, but those things can be huge.
Massive amounts of data.
That's where grep comes in handy, right?
Exactly. It's like your best friend in this situation.
So, like, if I suspected a specific IP address,
You got it.
I could use grep to just show me those entries.
Isolate the suspicious activity.
Okay, so I'm going through the logs, and bam,
You find something.
a malicious script just sitting there.
Oh boy, now it's getting real.
What do I do?
Now you need to take a closer look at that script.
Analyze it.
You got it. Figure out what it's doing.
Okay, so what's the best way to do that?
Well, you can use cat to display the whole thing right there in your terminal.
And then use grep again to search for specific commands or anything that looks shady.
You're getting it. It's like detective work.
Piecing together the clues.
And speaking of clues, remember the source mentioned word lists.
Yeah, those are a bit unnerving, to be honest.
Massive lists of passwords used for cracking.
But didn't the source say that security professionals use those too?
They do, ethically, of course.
So it's not all bad.
It's all about how you use the tools at your disposal.
Just like any powerful tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
Exactly. A hammer can build a house, or it can break bones.
Right, so it all comes down to intent.
That's what ethical hacking is all about, using your knowledge responsibly.
Okay, that makes sense. So how do we get good at all this?
Practice, practice, practice.
Just like anything else.
The more you use these commands, the easier it becomes.
And that's the beauty of Linux, isn't it? It's powerful, and there's always more to learn.
This deep dive was just a taste.
A starting point for anyone who wants to explore the world of cybersecurity.
So if you're ready to take the next step,
What should our listeners do?
fire up a Linux virtual machine and get your hands dirty.
Experiment. Don't be afraid to break things in a safe environment. Push those limits.
Because the more you know, the better prepared you'll be.
That's a wrap on another deep dive. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And until next time, keep those terminals open and keep exploring.